You're sitting on the plane, ready for takeoff. The engines roar, the aircraft accelerates down the runway, and suddenly, boom, one of the engines fails. Completely. You have 3 seconds to make the most important decision of your life. 3 seconds that separate a safe emergency landing from a catastrophe with hundreds dead. But here's what's going to surprise you. This happens more often than you think. And what pilots do in these critical moments is absolutely fascinating. Stay until the end, because I'm going to show you the exact moment when pilots decide between life and death. And it's far more complex than you think. Before we continue, do me a favor. Hit that like button now if you're afraid of flying, or comment "no worries" if you trust planes 100%. I want to see how many of you will change your mind, for better or worse, by the end of this video. Let's get straight to the point. Engine failure on takeoff isn't fiction. It's a real scenario that every commercial pilot trains for hundreds of times in a simulator. Because takeoff is the most dangerous moment of any flight. You're heavy, full of fuel, accelerating at over 155 miles per hour toward the end of the runway, and if something goes wrong, you don't have altitude to maneuver. You don't have speed to spare. You don't have easy options. And here's the kicker that nobody tells you. There are specific speeds where the decision changes completely. Before that speed, you abort. After it, you have to take off, no matter what happens. And if you get that decision wrong by a single second, catastrophe. Today, you're going to discover exactly what happens when an engine fails on takeoff, what impossible decisions pilots have to make, and why the answer isn't as simple as abort and stop the plane. Brace yourself, because the reality is far more intense than any action movie. Everything revolves around 3 speeds, 3 numbers that can save you or kill you. V1, decision speed. This is the critical speed, the point of no return. Before V1, if an engine fails, you abort the takeoff immediately. Cut the power, slam on maximum brakes, deploy the reversers. After V1, you continue. No matter what happened, engine caught fire, continue. Turbine pieces exploded, continue, because trying to stop might be even more deadly. VR, rotation speed. This is when the pilot pulls back on the yoke and the aircraft's nose lifts. The moment you stop being a fast car and become an aircraft. But if you're down one engine, this rotation needs to be perfect. Too early and you don't have lift. Too late and you're eating asphalt. V2, safety speed. The minimum speed you need to climb safely with only one engine. It's your survival margin. Below that, you're literally falling with style. And here's the silent terror. These speeds are calculated before each flight, based on weight, temperature, airport altitude, runway length. If the calculations are wrong for any reason, you find out at the most critical moment possible. Let's put you in the cockpit. Let's live this second by second. You're accelerating. 100 knots, 120 knots. The plane is heavy today. Transatlantic flight, full tanks, 140 knots. V1, the co-pilot announces. At that exact moment, bang! The right engine explodes. Alarms blare. The plane pulls violently to the right. Your instinct screams, "Stop! Abort!" But you can't. You passed V1 half a second ago. If you try to stop now, 300 tons of aircraft and fuel will slide off the runway at 155 miles per hour. And at the end of most runways, there's no infinite safety area. There are buildings, roads, ocean. So you do the most counterintuitive thing possible. You continue. Rotate. You pull back on the yoke. The nose lifts. The plane is shaking, struggling with half the power it should have. The runway is running out. You see the end of it approaching fast. Every fiber of your being is tense. Will you reach V2? Will the plane hold? And then you lift off the ground. Barely. Very barely. But you lift. You're flying on one engine, extremely heavy, barely managing to climb 100 feet per minute when you should be climbing 2,000. You can't turn much or you'll lose lift. You can't accelerate because you're already at the limit. You're piloting a 300-ton fuel bomb that can barely stay in the air. And now, you need to gain enough altitude to dump fuel, because you can't land this heavy or the landing gear will collapse. Or you need to circle for an hour burning fuel naturally. An hour keeping this thing in the air with half the engines. But here's the plot twist that will completely change your perspective. Modern commercial aircraft are designed for this. Literally. Every plane needs to be capable of taking off and climbing with only half its engines working. A Boeing 777 has 2 engines. If one fails, the other one alone needs to have enough power to lift that 350-ton aircraft. An Airbus A380 has 4 engines. It has flown across oceans with only 1 engine running. 1 out of 4. Pilots train this scenario so obsessively that it's practically a reflex. V1 cuts, engine failures at V1, are the most practiced drill in simulators. And you know how many times a commercial aircraft has crashed due to engine failure on takeoff in the last 20 years. Extremely rare. Almost always when other factors combine. Calculation error, contaminated runway, multiple system failures simultaneously. Statistically, you're more likely to die driving to the airport than in a catastrophic engine failure. So yes, engines can fail on takeoff. And when that happens, it's absolutely terrifying for whoever's in the cockpit making decisions in fractions of a second. But the reason you'll probably never experience this as a passenger. Decades of engineering obsessed with redundancy and safety. Planes are incredible machines, and the pilots who command them are trained for the impossible. Next time you're taking off and feel those engines roaring, remember, even if one fails, you're still in the hands of one of the safest transportation systems ever invented by humanity. If this video changed your view on aviation safety, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Every week, I bring fascinating curiosities that will make you question everything. Comment below. Did you feel more reassured or more scared after this video? And what curiosity do you want to see next? See you next time, and safe flights.